Allison pull her coat tighter as she walked through the city. The leaves had turned into fiery mosaics, drifting in slow spirals to the ground. She found herself both comforted and haunted by the season. Autumn had always been her favorite, but it was also the time of year she and David had first kissed. Every pumpkin on a stoop, every cinnamon-scented cafe reminded her of him. But she was trying. She was building a rhythm that wasn't defined by loss. Morning runs by the river, evenings spent painting messy canvases, the occasional night out with Natalie and her friends. Some days she even caught herself humming as she brewed her coffee, the silence after midnight no longer as suffocating. And then the past knocked, literally. It happened on a Friday evening. Allison had just returned from work, her arms full of groceries, when someone knocked at her door. Expecting her neighbor, she opened it casually. And froze. David stood there. He looked both exactly the same and entirely different. His hazel eyes still carried the warmth that had once made her trust him instantly, but there were shadows under them now, the kind carved by restless nights. His hair was longer, a little messy, as though he had stopped caring about appearances. He held no suitcase this time, only his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. "Allison," he said softly, his voice a storm of regret and hesitation. Her groceries slipped from her arms, apples rolling across the floor. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Allison's chest rose and fell too quickly, her mind a blur of memories and questions. She wanted to slam the door, to scream, to demand why he thought he could just appear after months of silence. She also wanted to collapse into his arms, to believe it had all been a terrible mistake. "What are you doing here?" Her voice came out sharper than she intended. David shifted, glancing down at the apples scattered across the floor before meeting her eyes again. I needed to see you. I owe you an explanation." Her heart hammered against her ribs. 6 months, David. 6 months of nothing. And now you show up at my door. "I know," he said quickly, his words tumbling out. "I know I don't deserve it. But I couldn't keep pretending I was fine. I thought I needed to leave to figure myself out, but all I did was run from everything. From you. And I can't stop thinking about us." The silence between them was thick, heavy with everything unsaid. Allison stepped back, arms crossed. "You can come in. But don't expect forgiveness." He nodded, stepping inside as though the apartment still remembered him. And it did. His presence filled the space in ways that made Allison's skin prickle. She picked up the groceries silently, placing them on the counter with deliberate care. David hovered near the couch, his hands restless. Finally, she turned to face him. "Talk." David exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I was lost, Al. I felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. Work was suffocating, life felt like it was pressing in, and instead of leaning on you, I panicked. I thought leaving would help me figure things out. But all it did was make me realize that everything good in my life was tied to you. And I was a coward for walking away." Allison's throat tightened. She wanted to believe him. She also wanted to throw every broken night in his face, every tear, every moment of silence after midnight. "You broke me, David." Her voice trembled. "Do you even understand that? You walked out like I was disposable. Like we were disposable." "I do understand," he said, his voice breaking. "And I hate myself for it. I'm not asking you to forget, or to pretend it didn't happen. I'm just asking for a chance to prove I can be better. That I've learned." Allison sank onto the couch, her hands trembling. She had imagined this moment countless times, in dreams, in daydreams, in the cruel theater of what-ifs that played in her mind at night. In some versions, she forgave him instantly. In others, she slammed the door. Reality was far more complicated. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she whispered. David sat cautiously on the edge of the armchair across from her, as if afraid to break the fragile thread holding the moment together. I'll wait as long as it takes. Just don't shut me out completely. That night, after he left, because she couldn't bear to let him stay, Allison sat at her window with her notebook. Her hands shook as she wrote, "What do you do when the thing you've been mourning suddenly comes back to life?" The silence after midnight felt different now. Not suffocating, not empty, but charged, like the moment before a storm. She didn't know what choice she would make. Only that the past was no longer safely behind her. It was here, knocking at her door, asking to be let in.